Macron has unexpectedly said that Europe is actively discussing the possibility of sending military personnel to help Ukraine. It is reported that at the moment such an initiative is supported only in Britain. Germany, the Czech Republic, and even Poland were sharply opposed. Although the idea of direct intervention in the conflict first matured in the Polish head, specifically the leader of the former ruling Law and Justice Party, Jarosław Kaczynski, who proposed the introduction of a peacekeeping contingent under the auspices of NATO. However, 2 years later, Warsaw seems to have tempered its ardor, and Polish President Andrzej Duda, who was present at the meeting with Macron, completely denies the prospect of sending the military, which is not surprising, because in case of anything, the Poles will be the first to be hit. That is why, despite their outward belligerence, they once so diligently denied the maliciousness of the debris that occasionally flew into their territory. And there's another point. France and Britain are nuclear powers, albeit with rather meager capabilities. In addition, the recent exercises, when a British carrier submarine almost destroyed itself, have sown seeds of doubt about the readiness of the arsenal of the Foggy Albion. However, if Paris and London are anything to go by, Warsaw is not only bare but also territorially closest. If, according to the French side, the agreements are implemented only bilaterally and not within NATO, the notorious Fifth Article may not help. But let us return to the French initiative. What considerations can there be? On the one hand, such a thing fits into the logic of the escalation ladder. Although, let's face it, it is one thing when inadequately bellicose rhetoric sounds from the tiny and nothing decisive Baltic states, and quite another when it is announced by the head of one of the key European countries with nuclear weapons. The Overton window is gradually widening. So, the options, in our opinion, are as follows. The first, the EU is radically going for broke and has bet on the destruction of Russia at any cost. In this case, the French proposal may be a test of public reaction. Macron is echoed by French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal, who also did not rule out sending a contingent to Ukraine, and added that Paris will not be able to accept Russia's victory. We should not forget that this is happening against the backdrop of the increasingly deteriorating situation of the Ukrainian military, as well as the ongoing large-scale NATO exercise Steadfast Defender 2024, which many perceive as a rehearsal. As usual, this option is opposed by common sense and the real danger of catastrophe. Moscow at various levels constantly makes it clear that in the event of a conflict with NATO, due to the absolute disproportionality of potentials in conventional forces, Russia will be forced to give a nuclear response. Not so long ago, for example, Dmitry Medvedev explicitly stated this. The second option, Macron's chatter, is PR and manipulation. First, in order to support the morale of Ukrainians, and second, in order to incline public opinion in Europe to a better alternative. Quite a typical trick when a person is given a bad and very bad option as an illusion of choice. In the case of Europeans, is it to give more money or march themselves? By the way, not so long ago, Biden tried to pull a similar trick, trying to manipulate the opinion of Congress. And this is where cunning political technologists may well miscalculate and get the exact opposite result. The French opposition has already attacked Macron with the accusation of madness. Taking into account the endless wave of protest movements superimposed on the deteriorating economic situation, the prospect of a conflict with Russia may well enrage the French even more and increase the number of supporters of dialogue with Russia. The third option, an attempt to informationally interrupt the news about the failure of the French initiative to purchase weapons inside Europe. Recall that earlier Paris demanded that any EU money spent on Ukrainians should be invested in European production. France hoped in this way to stimulate its own industry. But to all appearances, the plans for the revival of the European military-industrial complex will not come true, at least in the shortest possible time. And since there is nowhere to go, Macron said he would join the initiative for emergency purchases from third countries. He admitted that Europe is unable to produce everything it needs in sufficient quantities and at the necessary speed, so it is again forced to help the defense industry of other countries. They don't have many options. Predominantly, it is South Korea. We hope that Comrade Kim will react correctly to Europe's efforts and discourage Seoul from squandering its hard-won wealth. In general, we will see which of the options will turn out to be right in the end. One way or another, escalation on the part of Europe continues.